This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, and presently you are listening to the international service of VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, available wherever an internet connection does exist. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone tuning into this present broadcast. Presently, it is 5:32 p.m. Eastern Time, and the date is Tuesday, December 1st, 2015. Happy December, ladies and gentlemen. Happy December to you all. And ushering in December, let us have an inaugural Red Bull, because not only do I need a caffeine intake for today, I also need something to drink, but it's December. Made it through 2015, for the most part. 11/12 of the way done, we are. For the most part, we're done. And soon it's going to be 2016. Isn't that something? I don't know. For me, it is. For me, I'm still living in 2014. You know, that's the most recent year in my mind, 2014. Oh yeah, it still feels like 2014 at least. You know, I'm probably living in 2001 or 2000. You know, given my lifestyle, or even earlier. But you know, 2015 is gone by. It's came and went, and I don't even know where it was. I honestly don't, but nonetheless, it's over, for the most part. Gonna have the holiday season coming up soon. New Year's. And, then comes 2016. I'm not gonna give any sort of, Christmas or New Year's greetings yet. I don't publish VORW shows that infrequently anymore, but we'll get you some before then. I promise you that. So, hope you're doing well. You know, it's a Tuesday, soon to be a Wednesday. Gets dark outside early now. It's, as I said, 5-something p.m., 5:32, I think it is. 5:35 around now. Might get this up Wednesday at some point, I think. I don't know if I'm going to get this all up Tuesday night. I don't think so. So this is probably going to get to your feed Wednesday, I'm guessing, but please take note that at least part of this is being recorded Tuesday. Probably the fan mail segment will be recorded Wednesday, and it will be presented to you for your consumption that same day. Anyways, hope your Thanksgiving was good. Hope it was. As I said, it gets dark early now. It does. I was going to start recording earlier this afternoon, but I was just too tired. I was. I had an idea I really wanted to initiate. And that's part of the reason why I'm recording right now, because that idea is still in my head. You know, when you sometimes have an idea that you want to share, you got an idea that you really want to share. Best thing to do is to just act on it. So, I got this idea really to, formulate something. I already knew from the get-go what I wanted to talk about in this show. But I've really got an idea of how to phrase it this afternoon as I was taking a walk. And I say I gotta act on this. So here I am. I was just too tired to do anything earlier today, though. I got an hour of sleep or so. It was a rough night last night, but took a nap, and now I'm getting my Red Bull, so we're ready to power through the evening and through the night, and sleep away the day tomorrow, and record some more VORW for us all to listen to. Anyway, where was I? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Mine was excellent. Thank you for asking. It was a very honestly the best Thanksgiving I've ever had, and it really made me open my eyes. And this is what I want to talk to you all about, for at least a little bit. In this show, expect me to talk to you all about Thanksgiving. You're going to get some reading from Regression of Life, my story. Listener discretion advised. General talk about the channel. And some good old fan mail reading and anything else that comes to mind. Plenty of tangents and such to be expected. But really, this Thanksgiving, I was able to open my eyes and really see what Thanksgiving is all about. Okay? And the reason being is because never before had I been able to see both sides of things in Thanksgiving. I've only known really one type of... And Thanksgiving, of course, is the U.S. holiday. Everyone is supposed to have a big communal dinner and give thanks to each other. And oftentimes it doesn't end up like that at all. But I was able to see both sides of things. And it was very interesting. And it was because of that I was able to really see what Thanksgiving is all about and what it really should be all about. Let's elaborate. Yes, I had 2 Thanksgiving dinners. I did. Well, you're really pigging out, review bro, aren't you? Well, perhaps. I'm not going to deny anything that really can't be denied there. One of which was in a restaurant. The other of which was in an automobile. Yes, 2 very different scenarios. But let me explain to you all how the typical American Thanksgiving dinner usually works. Right. Now remember, the premise of Thanksgiving is to supposedly give thanks, to be thankful for, my family and my friends and that big turkey I'm going to be eating in 5 minutes. I'm supposed to be thankful for something, at least. Got the good old, American family sitting there around the table, their finest attire, chowing down, right? Holding hands while they're eating. That's not usually how it goes. At least presently. And surely most of us can attest to some sort of experience like this. In someone's family, most oftentimes, given a collection of people, just how human beings are, usually in every family there's 1 or 2 people who just don't get along. Who just don't like. It's just how people are. Nobody likes everyone. Even I try to be accepting, but there's people who I just despise. Who've whatever said or done things, I just hate them. Everyone has people they don't like. It's just a matter of fact. It's just human nature. I think everyone can attest to that in some way, shape, or form, even in our own families. You might have that third cousin who just gets on your nerves. Even your own folks, you might have a rough patch of them. Or your brother, or your sister, your uncle. Your great aunt. But whoever it may be, relations may be poor at times. The typical Thanksgiving dinner always seems to become more of a hassle than it is a meal, a communal gathering, to give thanks and to be thankful for your family and those who you love and care about, I think. That's what I think. I think it becomes more of a hassle. And let me elaborate here. Right, the average Thanksgiving dinner, I'd say, starts off around 5 p.m. I mean, even earlier. But it always follows the same thing. We're not going to go chronologically, time by time, but in general, what happens, it's a stress. It's a stress, and then more stress added to that. People got to worry about cooking. They got to worry about cleaning. They got to worry about that turkey. If it's cooked satisfactorily, let alone cooked at all. I'm sure there are countless Thanksgiving dinners where we'll just say that the turkey probably didn't turn out as expected. And many other things. Got to make sure the house is spotless for the folks coming over. You got to worry about impressions, what people think of you, all this stuff. It's a stress. You get people who come over who you don't like. Stress. Have to deal with the after effect now. Have to clean the whole place back up. Stress. Even if you're not even hosting a Thanksgiving dinner, you got to go there. You got to find the place. You got to be with all these people. Oftentimes it's just added stress. Money spent, stress. Time spent, stress. Stress. And by the end of it, most of the time people are thankful that it's over. They're just thankful that it's over. They say, oh God, glad that's over. Glad Thanksgiving is once a year. And I got to experience that side of everything. It wasn't a home-hosted Thanksgiving event as normally. Rather, it was at a restaurant, but I can still attest to it. That still was rather on the stressful side, having to put up with some people. And, just how it is. Just how it is. And that really didn't get me into this Thanksgiving spirit. I was like, well, at least I got a meal out of it, right? At least I got a restaurant meal out of it. And I guess that's what I was thankful for that dinner. But I wasn't thankful for being with anyone. I wasn't thankful for sharing a Thanksgiving meal with anyone. And you could be thankful for a dinner any day of the year, not just Thanksgiving. And you could eat turkey any day of the year. They sell turkeys at the supermarket. You want a turkey dinner like Thanksgiving. I'm sure not everyone does that, but if you wanted to, you can go buy a turkey right now, cook it all day, and prepare yourself a Thanksgiving feast on December the 3rd. You could if you wanted to. Anyone could. I could. Assuming you know how to cook a turkey, which I guess that kind of stumps me at that. But anyone could. So, alright, Review Bro, you got to see one side of the spectrum. And yes, there's a lot of people who do enjoy their Thanksgiving dinners. I'm just talking in generics, generally. A lot of people, while they may have some fun out of it, can also cause a lot of stress. A lot of worrying and such. Okay, well, fine. You told me one side of the story, of the spectrum. Let's hear the next. Fine, you got it. You got it. Let me just take this. Hold on a second. So, still Thanksgiving night. Okay, let's wash this down with a sip of energy drink. Oof. Sorry about that. For my health. But, so, you got to see a second type of the spectrum, the type of what Thanksgiving really is about. And I'm not going to divulge too much into my personal life, but short and sweet. After the big Thanksgiving dinner in the restaurant, I had a second Thanksgiving dinner. And it was much more secluded, not in any sort of fancy environment. Nothing was done up. In fact, it was actually in an automobile. And I had, simply put, just shared, as I have already eaten, just shared, just some chicken and stuffing from Boston Market. And yes, chicken, because chicken tastes a lot better than turkey, in my opinion. turkey, I find, is rather dry and can sometimes be a bit tasteless, whereas chicken is always full of flavor. So, always go with chicken when you have the chance, in my opinion. Okay. I got to have this little meal. Just in the car. But the fact of the matter is that not only was it stress-free, but I was also eating with those significant to me. No rush, no worries, no hassle, no cleaning, no dealing with the annoying relatives that we hate so much. Well, hate is a strong word, that we dislike so much. None of that at all. Just a peaceful little dinner. You didn't have to put on a fake face and pretend to be all cordial and pretend to be making false conversation and fake chit-chat with everyone just so you don't look out of the ordinary. You don't have to put on an act just because you're there for a bunch of strangers for the most part. You don't have to do that. You can just be yourself, as they say. And it was then that I realized that this is what Thanksgiving is all about. This is what it truly should be. It should be an opportunity to just share a meal with those who you really are thankful for. And that's when I realized. I came to that epiphany that evening. And I said, I'm going to talk about this. And here I am talking about it. But that's when I came to that realization. That's when I realized it. That's when I came to that epiphany. And I said, yeah, this is what it's actually all about. And unfortunately, it's an opportunity like this is obviously not the most common, because Thanksgiving tradition is often set in stone. And given that this is the first time this has ever happened in my entire life, I've ever realized that, you can see the rarity thereof. So what advice can I give you, I mean, you can't say, yeah, all right, next Thanksgiving, just dump all your relatives off someplace and just eat with a few people, No, I can't say that, but just remember, that may not be all the gaudiness and the grandeur and the ambiance and the formality and everything in between about Thanksgiving nowadays. But none of that really matters. What matters is just the little things. Just the people who are actually close to you. Not that that third great cousin of yours whose name you don't even remember. They're important too. They are. They're important too. They're people also. And they're important too, and don't forget that. But really, keep at heart just the little things. Just the people who you hold close to you. Because that's what Thanksgiving is really all about. And hopefully decent food too. But I say hopefully because oftentimes the food can go awry. Okay. Let's turn the oven on, shall we? Gonna be making dinner in due time. Having a big feast tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Gonna be making myself some Pillsbury Grands Southern home style biscuits. I'm going to have an 8-piece of these. It's one of these little Pillsbury things. That's my dinner. No meat, no fast food, just this. Heat oven to 350 degrees. Okay. Oh, there you go. 350 already. Good. Make sure there's nothing in the oven. A couple crumbs, but let them burn, right? Alright. Gonna fire up the oven now. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my monologue. That was my spiel about Thanksgiving. What I want to do now is I want to read to you a story about that I've been writing throughout the year. And I didn't know whether people wanted to read it first. And number two, if people wanted me to read it on the show. But I am, because by popular demand, people want to hear it. And I let the people decide. Oftentimes I let the channel be a good democracy. I want the folks who view these shows to be able to have their say in things. Because I do this for the audience, not really for me. So, you guys are what matters. The audience is important. People who I do the show for are important. So that's that. Now, I explained the story a couple months ago, but it would be foolish of me to assume, and never assume. Never. I made an assumption today, and it came back to bite me. I assumed I was supposed to go to a doctor appointment today. I assumed that I had transportation all set up, and in the end I ended up rescheduling because transportation did not show up. So don't assume. Don't. Because oftentimes, unless you're absolutely 100% certain, don't assume. Now this story is called Regression of Life. Okay? It's called Regression of Life. It is a work in progress, written by me, review bra, I guess. And I read a portion of it a couple months ago. But, as I said, I'm not going to assume that everyone here has listened to it or knows of it. So I'm going to give a backstory to it. And we'll go on from there. If you are listening to this via YouTube, I would like you to please look at the screen right now. And look at the slideshow of pictures we have going for you here. Looking, you see these images of these almost decrepit-looking pigsties of dwellings. Back from my days when I would more vigorously browse the internet and various sites thereof, I came across these pictures, which they called them battle stations. And of course, people posted the most notorious ones and the worst ones I've ever seen. And these belonged to, perhaps basement dwellers and, people who really looked like they weren't doing so well. You can see them. The technology, the pictures may not be the newest. Maybe they are new. It's just antiquated technology. And just in these basements, filthy, trash everywhere. Looks rather secluded. Some of them are in basements, some are in boiler rooms, some look like they're in crawl spaces. Run-down buildings, garbage, discarded food, cigarette butts everywhere. So I got inspiration from looking at these pictures, ladies and gentlemen. I said, say I was one of these people. Say that one of these pictures was my residence. That I lived in this. What would life be like? How would my life be? So, I began writing. And the story takes twists and turns, and of course it becomes far more than a description just of the environment. And the main character has a life, and things happen, and twists and turns take place, and such. But it explains, perhaps, the lifestyle of one of these people. As if I actually lived in one of these pictures. As if this was my home. And, of course, I base it off of some of my own interests. The story takes place in mid-2015, mid-2015. The main character, if this has ever happened to you, sometimes you'll wake up in the middle of the night. You'll wake up and maybe you were in a very serious dream, or what, or woke up from a very deep sleep, but sometimes you'll wake up and you'll just be a little confused as to your surroundings for a little bit. You'll forget, at least even just for a minute or a few seconds or whatever it may be, where you are, and then you'll remember, oh, here I am, I'm laying in bed in my room, or I'm laying on the couch, or I'm laying in this hotel room, that's where I am. Oh yeah, stupid me. So maybe that's ever happened to you, or you wake up and you momentarily kind of forget where you are, because you're really half asleep, out of it a bit. That's what happens to the main character when we start off. Listener discretion is advised. Please note that in this story, there is very serious discussion about depression and suicide, and that type of matter. Therefore, if you are affected by any of these topics, it is not encouraged that you listen to this reading. I'll be reading 4 out of the 16 pages in this story thus far, on air. The rest may be read or published at a further date. Again, listener discretion is advised. If you are sensitive to these topics, again, it is not advised that you listen. I will play a brief clip for about 15 seconds to give you time to think whether you want to listen or not, and then we'll begin reading. 4 out of the 16 pages. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week.
Oak branch on one side and a laurel wreath on the other. The oak branch symbolizes the strength of the nation.
国外招募发言人华春莹。
Ontario. That's probably making it easier for a lot of people.
This government has to finally realize they have a problem on their hands.
Some of the schools in the GTA in particular.
Professionnel, direi.
Sortissant d'état tiers, arrivé dans le pays.
The Overcomer, and my name is Brother Stair.
Regression of life. I woke up confused and disoriented. It was cold, dark, damp, and gloomy. At first, I didn't know where I was. I lay on my back, my arms limp at my sides. My head rests against the cold concrete floor. There is no light in this room. I hear a dull, faint hum, and I remain still. Where am I ponder. What is this place? What's going on? Thoughts race through my mind a mile a minute. Unsure on any other course of action to take, I remain still and silent and wait for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. I lay in wait. Fear fills my mind. A terrifying uncertainty of what I might see chills me to the bone as I, with every passing moment, draw closer and closer to viewing my fate ahead of me. After a few minutes or so of still, terrifying, blind silence, I begin to see the silhouettes of the room around me. An old CRT computer monitor, as well as the computer itself, mouse, and keyboard sit in the corner to my right. I then see what looks like a large cylindrical-shaped tank against the wall, presumably a hot water heater. To my left, I can see the outline of a closed, wood-paneled door, and behind me towers a large shelf, full of darkened forms of many miscellaneous objects, and above me hangs a bare, darkened light bulb. I now realize where I am. This environment is very familiar to me. I'm home. This small, windowless, 5-foot by 10-foot room is my sanctuary. This room, originally, and presently still, is the boiler room of my house, and it's also where I live. I made this room my home after my hatred for the world grew, my anxiety increased, my depression worsened, and my relationship with all those around me degraded with every passing day. The room was located in the basement, underground and in the center of the house, in a tucked-away room. It is easy to be forgotten, and that's exactly why I chose to live there. I did not wish to lay sight upon another human being for as long as possible. The only people who I saw sometimes were my parents, due to the fact that they owned and resided in this house. They would sometimes visit me for a few minutes every couple of days. They would come in and try to talk to me, try to make casual conversation, ask how I'm doing. By now they'd given up on convincing me to leave. They seemed to just accept it. But lately, their visits were less and less frequent. What once was a daily interaction now turned into a weekly check-in, and truthfully, it didn't bother me. What bothered me, though, was why. Why did they want to stop seeing me? Was it of hatred, disappointment, forgetfulness, regret? Has simply doing what I had to do to make life worth living brought them to this? Sometimes, when I would try to rest, I would lay down on the concrete floor, my head against a pillow that I managed to bring down when I first moved in, and I would just think about this. I just didn't understand. I had been living in this basement room for over a year now. Presently, it was mid-May of 2015. I had become a recluse in March of 2014, after several negative, real-world events, which I'd prefer not to discuss, sent me over the edge and forced me to take immediate action. The only time I would ever leave this room is once daily, for a maximum time of 20 minutes, at around 3 o'clock a.m. every night. I would venture out of my room and go upstairs. I would refill my water bottles, of which I had around a dozen, so I wouldn't need to leave if I were thirsty. I would then dispose of the day's garbage, use the bathroom, and prepare myself a frozen meal. Then I'd bring down the meal and dispose of its remains in another 24 hours. I ate only once a day. My diet consisted exclusively of frozen food, mostly frozen pizza, chicken, a few frozen grain varieties too. The stocks of this food were regularly replenished by my parents, I suppose because they didn't want me to die, or maybe they just didn't want to have to deal with my dead body. And maybe they didn't want to deal with me alive and just appease me. Either way, they kept me alive, and every day, many times a day, I wish they didn't. I used to wear dress pants and a dress shirt every day. Before I moved to this room, I used to even wear a full suit and tie, casually, every day. I owned about 25 suits. However, as I began to proceed into reclusiveness, I just lost the effort to wear a suit anymore. Slowly, I stopped wearing the jackets. Suits turned into the pants and a shirt and tie. And then I lost the will to tie a tie. And the shirts and ties just turned to dress shirts and pants, and soon afterward I didn't even see any point in tucking in the shirts anymore, and there wasn't any reason to button them either. Though it was dark, I was pretty sure I was wearing a dress shirt, unbuttoned and untucked, and a pair of tan dress pants, as well as a pair of dark dress socks with an ever-increasing number of holes in them. Once a month, again, late at night, I would venture upstairs and do my laundry. I almost never bathed, cleaned myself, exercised, or took care of myself in any way, and quite frankly, I didn't care. I didn't live anymore. I just existed. As I had lived in this basement room, the world continued around me, and I remained, in a sense, suspended in my room and in time. I continued to lay in the darkness. The cold and hard concrete floor dug into my shoulders. That used to bother me. The pain and discomfort, that is. When I first moved in, many nights or days would be utterly sleepless. The transition from beds and the occasional sofa to a thin mat and a single pillow was a difficult one, but as time carried on, I got used to it. There were many things I got used to eventually. Over time, I got used to the lack of light, eating one meal a day. I got used to containing my garbage and simply lived with it. I got used to the infrequent showers and monthly laundry, got used to the lack of outside world, and I got used to the hatred, disgust, and seemingly continual and perpetual insults and assaults from those who I once considered friends and family, those who I once loved and cared about. But none of that bothered me anymore, because to me, now, they were just people, and that's all they are. Cold-hearted, inconsiderate, hatred-filled despisers of those different from them. Although those who were, quote, different from these people seemingly hated those who differed from them in turn. Truly, that was humanity, a collection of despicable cretins who would sometimes fake happiness just to get a task done, always for personal gain. Was I any better or different from the rest of them who inhabited this world? No, but I seldom played the role of an attacker, as nearly every other individual did. Most of the time, I just kept my mouth shut and accepted this all. I deserved this hatred because I exist. I would tell myself whenever this would happen. For existing and living through another day, I deserved everything I got. There are only a few people in life who did not outright express their hatred for me. For a while, at least. My parents, or folks as I sometimes called them, were two of those people. Before my move, time and again, I would be told by them to just do what makes me happy, and they would love me no matter what. After the move, it took me a while to realize that they were just lying all along. Eventually, I realized that to them, I was just a space occupier that they didn't want to deal with. Still, though, I would ponder why. Based on example and lifelong promises, I had always believed that parents would be there for their children no matter what. What did I do to deserve their hatred, their disgust, repulsion, and sadness? Did my act of inhaling and exhaling drive them to this point? Did I not turn out the way they wanted me to? Or this was their way of getting back at me? Why? Just why, I wondered at times. Remaining on my back and staring into the darkness, I saw through the corner of my eye the faint glow of the orange standby light on my computer. It was, for the most part, the only light in this room right now. Looked at it for a minute or two. The light was an orange color, maybe with a hint of yellow or possibly red added to it. The light would fade in and fade out again, just as I seemed to every single day. I sat up. In such a darkness, one sometimes fails to realize if the body is sitting, standing up, or laying down. This feeling for me was brief nowadays, unless I had a bout of derealization or depersonalization. I knew this darkness, and my eyes had fully adjusted. I lifted my right arm directly overhead and pulled the decaying string attached to a bare light bulb. I pulled it, the bulb flickered to life, then flickered out again, and about 5 seconds later the bulb flickered on for good. I rubbed my eyes, looked down at my legs, and I exhaled a deep sigh of disappointment. I didn't die in my sleep yet. As the room became illuminated, I observed my surroundings once more. Some days I would lay down for an hour or two and simply look around my room and take in every minute detail of my domain, only to forget these details shortly after observing them. I remained sitting up, stiff and groggy with the usual pain in my back from laying on the concrete floor for a few hours. Again I looked down at myself. I was right earlier. I wore an unbuttoned and untucked white shirt with tan dress pants and paired with black socks that were composed of more holes than fabric. In the lower right-hand corner of the room lay my shortwave radio. Aside from the computer, this was my only source of news, contact, and information of the outside world. Shortwave radio was a major hobby of mine before the move, and it was one of, if not the last thing I ever found solace in. Over time, I realized that happiness does not exist, nor did it ever exist. What existed, rather, was solace, a very short-lived feeling that strengthened and dissipated, that made life worth living. Due to the way certain radio waves reflected off of the ionosphere, one could hear multitudes of distant stations from around the world. And often, I would spend hours listening to my shortwave radio, Now tune into the broadcasts of Radio Kuwait in the afternoons, Radio Romania International in the evenings, and Radio Australia through the mornings. The radio also contained a digital clock when the computer was off, as it is presently. This was my only other source of time. I leaned over. My back still ached from the floor, as it did most of the time, and looking at the faint black text on the digital clock, I saw the time was 4:45 a.m. The sun should start rising in about a half an hour, I thought. As I remained sitting up, a heaviness enveloped my entire person. My mind began to wander. I first thought about how long I must have been asleep for. I figured that it must have been a while, but truthfully, I didn't know exactly how long I had been sleeping for. My eyes drifted to the radio again, examining its long antenna. I must have been asleep since midnight, I imagined, and in turn, I missed my usual visit upstairs. I also wondered as to why my computer was off. Did not recall turning it off, but then again, I did not recall falling asleep either. As a matter of fact, I did not remember any of last night. However, my memory is very poor, and often I forget the previous day's events. I'm sure at the time there was a sufficient reason which existed to shut the machine off. My memory was never really good at all. Even before I moved, I forgot events that happened in the past all the time. Sometimes, I would confuse names or locations. Often, my short-term memory was worst of the two, though sometimes I would forget older events that perhaps should not have been forgotten. Of course, it was never my intention to forget anything, near or far in the past. It simply just happened and was out of my control, yet many people seemed not to understand that fact. It was as though the rest of the world had impeccable memories, yet seemed to exclusively forget the fact that such a thing as a bad memory exists. Due to this, I often faced criticism for my memory or lack thereof. That was another reason why I didn't wish to interact with another human being. In my life, I suppose simply because of how things just happen to be, and how things have happened to have played out, many bad events have come to pass, occurring mostly due to my stupidity, in both thoughts and actions, and occasionally due to unforeseen outside circumstances. Many very bad things have happened to me, especially in the last 4 years or so. Very bad things. I did not wish to think any more on this topic, just the bare thoughts were getting to me. It often seemed as though these thoughts and instances were what I remembered most clearly, unfortunately. You've been listening to an excerpt from Regression of Life. That concludes 4 pages of the reading. We hope you were able to perhaps enjoy it, perhaps get something out of the reading, and, of course, your thoughts are always appreciated. I know it's not the greatest story in the world, but just me trying to get my mind inside the life of one of these people, using my own interests to kind of base something off of here. So, that was my work. Pages and pages and pages left. Pages to convert from written material to online text. And many more pages that are still in my head that I have planned out. I guess in the planning stages, I kind of know what's going to happen, and I just got to structure it and get it written down at some point. And there you go. Short story time, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's that. That was Regression of Life. Hope that the big disclaimers and warnings before it were good enough. But I do apologize if you were at all offended or perhaps not amused in some way, shape, or form by this reading. I do apologize. I do. But, again, comments, feedback, and such is always appreciated on the story. Moving on. Let's do the YouTube wrap-up. Seems to be a regularly occurring segment now, but it's a useful one. And let's talk about what happened since the last VORW show. Pizza Hut, chocolate brownie, November 21st, 2015. Non-pizza item in the Pizza Eating Nook recorded. And, it was it was okay. I mean, it was very thick. And, not something I'd get again, that's for sure. After that was the Wendy's Gouda Bacon Cheeseburger, which was okay again. Looked disgusting, but it was actually not as bad as the images portrayed it. And I had to see something advertised that looked so grotesque, in a sense. Following that was the fully loaded Steak Boss wrap in public, filmed. Finally getting to the last of the Boss wraps. After that was the Burger King Frozen Surge. People said I was in a good mood in that one, and I was. Those were happy days for me, ladies and gentlemen. Those days I was filming in public, those were good days. Those were good, happy days, ladies and gentlemen. So, rightfully so, I was in a good mood. I guess that was evident. And then following that, on the 29th and December 2nd, 2 Starbucks reviews. The Starbucks Caramel Brulee Latte, or the Starbucks Caramel Brule Latte. One is another happy public review. Trying out a caramel drink of theirs. And then on the 2nd of December, another happy public review. Trying out the famous pumpkin spice latte. And apparently, according to the masses, I'm officially a white girl now. It's official. I've been inaugurated after drinking this elixir known as the Starbucks pumpkin spice latte. So it's official. It's official. I've been initiated. Let's check the subreddit. Some Reddit stuff was going on. I got Reddit Gold. 1 month and 27 days worth of Reddit Gold remaining. I mean, it's not that I've really put any of it to use ever. I don't know. I just don't really see any features that it gives you that are worth using. I mean, there's that. There's this subreddit apparently you can access called the Lounge. And sorry, I just don't understand the concept of it. Apparently, if you have gold, you can access it. So I did, and I saw nothing of value there. Not saying it's a worthless, useless place, but I just saw nothing of personal value there. It's just people kind of bragging about their gold, and that's it. I don't know. I kind of wish you could sell the gold. That would be nice. That'd be nice. I can sell my Reddit Gold. I can do that with great pleasure. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry, that just makes me laugh. Just an unintended moment there. You're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Second half of our program begins at the tone. You're listening to VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, and this is the second half of our program, following the time signal. This is the Mailbag Show, where we read and respond to your letters written in to us via YouTube or email, and they could be messages of support, messages of rebuke, criticism, suggestion, could be praise, could be something in between, could just be just a little train of thought. Whatever it may be, ladies and gentlemen, write to us. Feel free to. Our last question, which we asked, was dealing with music, your favorite decade thereof. So, always looking forward to the response to that, and the responses which you got. The question for this program is as follows. This is a major hobby of mine, and it's just simply a yes or no question, but if you can answer yes to it, I'm interested in just wondering, how vast it was, as a matter of fact. This was a big hobby of mine back in the day. Not so much anymore. But back in the day, it was, when I was younger. It was very big. And the reason why I still bring this up is because it is pertinent not only to young bloods, or children as informally called, but it could also pertain to adults as well, if you still feel as though you wish to do so. I'm talking about Legos. Yes, Lego bricks. You know what I mean. The things that perhaps you've stepped on one too many times. Or perhaps the little brick you remember from that YouTube video where some kid got it stuck up his nose. Or anything in between. Maybe you were actually a connoisseur of the sorts and you built sets and everything. I'm interested in knowing. So my question for you is, as a child or as an adult, or both, or neither, did you play with Legos at all? And if you did, how extensive was your collection? That's all. I'm just curious. I know it's a very random topic, but that's what we're all about on VORW. It's not just a YouTube channel-centric broadcast. It's, it's for anything goes. It's just, random thoughts. I was talking about Thanksgiving, and I read a story, So, that is that. So, Legos. Did you play with Legos at all, or do you? Do you collect Legos? Do you build things with Legos? Do you build sculptures? Do you have a massive Star Wars setup? What do we got? Could be yes or no. If you want to answer yes and elaborate a little bit on the matter, feel free to do so. If you don't, don't. If you're just not feeling it, you're not feeling it, and I don't blame you. Not everyone's a fan of Legos. Not everyone wants to write in. That's fine, too. So that's what we got for you. And also, if you have any comments, or you just want to hear your letter, or your shout-out, or whatever, written or read on the next program, please write to us. Go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/report of the week. Go to the About tab, click on Send Message, type in the contents of your desired message, and send it off. And it is guaranteed to arrive in my YouTube inbox, and it will be read at top priority on the VORW show. If you don't want to use YouTube, you're not a YouTube person, don't like this system, that's fine too. Send us an email. Send it to the general channel email, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview, the number 1 at gmail.com. No spaces there, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Or send it to the VORW email address, vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. Again, no spaces there, ladies and gentlemen. vorwinfo@gmail.com. You're not sure what email address to send it to whichever one you please, because it'll end up in the same place, no matter where you send it. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. So, let's start off the fan mail, shall we? I didn't specifically look at the mailbag size today, but I think it's okay. I think it is. Let's see what we've got. Again, please know that if we miss, if we miss your message, which we may by accident, resend it. Say it's a resubmission. Tell me that I missed it, and I'll get to it. Okay? Good. Well, we're gonna start here, and let me just see if I remember this. I'm sorry I'm taking so much time, but let's just make sure. Because I think I'd be rereading. Okay, here we go, starting it off. Greetings, Report of the Week. In response to your question from VORW 105, I would choose the 60s. I've been listening to more and more soul music lately, so that would be my answer. Although if you asked me again in a few months, my answer might change. I also had a small request. Could you give a shout out to a few friends of mine, at least their screen names? Sure, they are, and these are all the screen names. Exodia1, Venusaur Rules, Kurtar, Blasty007, Sam Cow, that's KOW, Ryan Entro, Cryptic Enigma, Soccer Dude 84, Dej, and last but not least, Slipknot Man 666. Apologize if I butchered any of those, but all of you have official shout-outs, very formal shout-outs from the Report of the Week here on VORW. He says, sorry if that was a mouthful, but I really appreciate it. No problem, they've all been shouted out. 60s music is pretty solid. I'm gonna mention my music. I'll mention it now, what the heck. I mean, right now, I'm trying to get into classical music more myself. I was looking up some of the Romantic era composers and reading about them. And Radio Austria International has classical music almost on a nightly basis on shortwave. And I just want to listen to classical music a little more. I think it's a very, at times, very underappreciated genre. A lot of people think at this point classical music is just the type of music that, the old grumpy rich bastards listen to, but not the case. I think classical music can really be appreciated by anyone, I feel. I think it could be amazing that really from just for the most part, especially with stringed instruments, that from some strings and a hunk of wood, such a beautiful thing as a beautiful orchestral piece could come from that. I think that's just amazing. But anyways, hi Review Bra. Hope you're well, and I wanted to ask some advice and give some advice at the same time. First of all, I have trouble getting myself to do tasks when I need to do them, homework, emails, etc. Do you have any suggestions for how to motivate myself or something like that? Do you think you're a hard-working person? If so, how do you do it? Well, this is one way. I know I can say, well, focus on the goals and this and that, but in reality, we can do that. Not going to really work in every case. This is a strategy you can use that, unfortunately, is not too advisable, but it gets the stuff done nonetheless. Simply put, and it's stress-inducing, especially in an educational scenario, but it guarantees you're going to get it done if you care remotely so about work or education and such. Wait till the very last day to do it, and then get it done. It'll be rushed and everything, but it'll be done. But I don't recommend that advice. But if you really want to get it done, that's the only way you can really put pressure on yourself to know, if I sit here doing nothing, there's going to be some consequences to my actions. Otherwise, just motivate yourself. Just try to think of the positive outcome that can occur from doing this action well. Okay? Say it's responding to emails at work. Say, well, what gain can I get out of doing this? Perhaps if I do a good enough job, there can be a monetary gain for this. I could perhaps get a raise. I can perhaps, if I do my job well enough, I can get some sort of increased money from this. You can say, well, maybe I'll get that promotion I wanted so badly if I do this well. In education, think, if I get these grades, what can I get out of this? Well, say you're in a high school setting. Could say, well, if I do well on this exam, perhaps I can get accepted into the college that I wanted to get into. And if you're in college, you can say, well, if I do well in this exam, or if I do well in this project, or if I complete this assignment, if I do this essay, I'll get a good grade in this class, or it'll build up to a good grade in this class, pass it with flying colors, get the credits, and I'll be able to graduate with the major that I want to graduate with. I want to go into the career field I want to go with, and I'll get that job that I want. And I know it's kind of thinking big for something perhaps smaller, but just try to think of any positive outcome that will occur from doing the work right now, doing it promptly and getting it completed. And just think of the benefits you'll get out of it. Just say, what's in it for me? And yeah, sometimes that'll be something difficult to see, but there's always something. Always something for the most part. Second, I think your individualism is awesome. You don't care what other people think, whether it's about your clothes or if they don't get your reviews or sense of humor, then that's great. But on the other hand, as someone a bit older than you are, I just want to suggest that you keep your options open. Don't do things that you're really uncomfortable doing or things you think are wrong, but try things outside your comfort zone sometimes. I know when I was younger, I never thought I'd be doing the things I'm doing now, but leaving myself open to opportunities allows you to learn and grow. That's how it was for me, and I'm still keeping myself open, ready for any opportunity to present itself. Remember that you'll probably regret not doing something, then regret doing it. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Keep up the good work. From James. P.S. The Auto Mind is a favorite series of yours, and I'd love if you continued on that avenue. Well, thank you, James, for your advice. And thank you for writing in. And I think that is very sound advice to keep your options open. A vocalization of reporting weekly. Ivor writing you again from the Russian Empire. My village has been raided and pillaged by Moscovians since last time I write to you. They take our potato and our women. Youngest brother boys die fighting bears rite of passage to adulthood, but we have many young Borises so not all Boris is lost. Your VORW broadcast continue bring us hope in hungry times, always loving your review of frozen food items. In my village, all food is frozen. Haha. Meaning dead crops. Missing a Boris from Ivor. Thank you for writing, Ivor, from Russian Empire. Always a pleasure to have you listening from there. And let me know one day if the voice of Russia is ever coming back to shortwave. That would be nice. Hey man, been watching your vids for a while. Just wanted to say I really rate the content you're putting out. Thanks. Thank you. What do you rate it? Did he mean hate? No, the H key is too far from R on the keyboard. Well, thank you regardless. Hello again, Review Bro. To answer the VORW question, if I had to pick a decade of music I like most, it would probably be the 2000s, followed by the 60s and 80s. I'm glad you liked the suggestion for the poll, and I have a different question for you. Other than North American food, what country's cuisine do you like the most? I have to say that Thai and Jamaican are some of my favorites. As always, keep up the great work. Thank you. And 2000s music is pretty solid too. There's a channel on Music Choice called Y2K. I always check that out. If I'm ever sleeping on the couch, turn on the television before I go to sleep. That's where the whole Lost Tapes endeavor began. Always turn on Music Choice before I go to sleep. And always check out the Y2K channel. Sometimes it's good. Other times, no offense to the genre, but sometimes it's some R&B song from the early 2000s that sounds exactly the same as the rest. But it's a worthy gamble. It is. It is, because there's some good music from that era, too. And, what country's cuisine do you like the most? I'd honestly have to say, probably, that's tough to say, but I'd say probably Chinese food. I would. So I had a Chinese restaurant a while ago. I was a fan of the dumplings there. Those are pretty good. Pork dumplings from an authentic Chinese restaurant. And that's always good. Always good. They have some good Chinese food. Very nice. And Thai and Jamaican. Jamaican. That must be some some real spices and flavors in that. When I think of Jamaican, I think of Jamaican jerk wings from Planet Wings, but I know that really shouldn't be an ideal example of Jamaican food. Good evening, Report of the Week, and good evening to you. Hope this message is finding you well. I quite enjoyed your recent VORW. I listened to it all at work. We're allowed to listen to music, so naturally podcasts work well too. And I was pleasantly surprised at the length of it. Well, thank you, and you'll probably get another good lengthy one today. Anyhow, to answer your newest question, my favorite period of time for music would probably be the 70s. While I do not listen to music at all that much, if I had to point to a favorite genre, it would be progressive rock. Among them, King Crimson, oh yeah, good one right there, King Crimson, is my favorite band, and many of their albums in the 70s are fantastic. I think the 70s and 80s were the best periods for progressive rock. If you never listened to them, I recommend checking them out. Among their albums are Three of a Perfect Pair, Thrack, and Wake of Poseidon. Yes, I I do know of King Crimson, and believe it or not, I actually played one of their songs on the VORW shortwave broadcast. Not on the air anymore, but back when VORW was on shortwave, I would read the news, and then I would sometimes talk about my life or the channel a little bit, and the rest of the show would be just music, and I would take requests, and I would play favorite songs, and new songs I discovered of varying genres, and it's a great little show we did and had going. And, so that was nice. That was something nice. It was. And I know a few of you, especially a regular writer or two, I know you guys remember the VORW show on shortwave, so hopefully you can attest to that. Hopefully you like the music choices on that. But, one day, right? One day it might be back. If good old Brother Stare, who preaches about, the end of the world, can rake in $50,000 a week for being on shortwave, maybe one day. But I mean, he doesn't care. He just asks for $1 million on the air and doesn't give a crap. So maybe I gotta just spend my life savings and just start doing that and see what happens. No, I kid. Moving on with this individual's letter, though. A few last week mentioned wanting to hear more of your story, and I agree it would be cool to hear more readings from you. I've been a fan of having a question for each VORW. As a suggestion, I think that even more fan involvement would be great for VORW. As for what the involvement would be, I'm not completely sure. However, I did think up one idea. Perhaps having a weekly straw poll question, separate from the other one, would be cool. It would be a question where fans would have a week to pick among specific choices. During the following VORW, you can announce the results and maybe share your own thoughts on the results. It could be done along a similar theme to the question you ask viewers to respond to. So, for example, if this week's question, the straw poll would have us pick which decade we liked, and then the normal VORW question would have been our favorite music genre would be. These would be two separate questions, and seeing how the results match up could be interesting. Hope that explanation wasn't too confusing. I'm basically proposing 2 questions per week instead of 1. I apologize for the long message. Take care. Thank you. Let me just chew on an ice cube for a minute. I need water, and I'm not going up and getting some. Okay. I think that's interesting to have a straw poll. That really would, in my opinion, increase fan involvement even more so, than already. I think that's an interesting idea. I think it is. Maybe 1 week I'll have to try that and just see how it goes. See how willing people are to participate in the straw poll, I guess. It'd be interesting to see, I think. Thank you for writing. Thank you for your time. Hello again. Been a listener for a couple of years now since the most famous pizza review. I've enjoyed your VORW, and I have written in before, this being my second time. Okay. Well, the first thing is going to lead to a story, so I'm going to save that for last. He also writes, he gives me some questions. What's the closest near-death experience you've had? And there's been a few, not too many that really come to mind. But I mean, there's a few. There's some time I almost got electrocuted when I was a little child. Just a few other times crossing mostly with the road. One time the public bus almost crashed and could have died there. Just crossing the road. I always have to sometimes cross a busy road, and I always look and I always think, what if that car is not paying attention and run the red light and they mow me down, But I always try to just look both ways and get across as safely and versatilely as I can, I guess, if that's a word. Have you ever seen anything out of the ordinary on your night walks? Not too out of the ordinary. It's actually very nice and peaceful, honestly. It is. It's very peaceful. There's not many people out at all. Barely anyone, if anyone at all. And it's just very peaceful. Sometimes I'll see some deer. I guess some fauna. See sometimes the sprinklers on at some of the places. Get to walk by those. Just see some deer, but nothing crazy. Nothing really crazy. Sometimes see a big, 18-wheeler going by making deliveries late at night or whatever it might be. But nothing crazy. Ever gotten paranoid on a night walk? Yeah, sure. But it doesn't stop me from going. One bit. Do whistleblowing in or out? Believe it or not, I guess I'm something dexterous. I guess it's, I don't know, ambidextrous. Doesn't that apply to your hands, though? But regardless, I can whistle blowing in and out. So, in and out, I can do both. And sometimes when I whistle complex tune, I alternate between the two. So I can do so, and blowing in, I can still whistle on the inhales, and blowing out, I can whistle on the exhales. So I do both in and out. I know you said you aren't much of a cook besides microwave, but consider reviewing edamame beans. Buy them frozen, place them in a Ziploc bag, microwave for 3 minutes, and enjoy. Here is an insider scoop. We have a 400% markup on those damn things at the restaurant. They sell well. And finally, the last question. Have you ever broken a bone in your body? Well, I don't know. If it was a week ago, I'd say no. No, not at all. I've never broken a bone in my body, but at this point, I can't say that. But I may very well have broken my big toe on my right foot. I don't know if it's broken or not, and believe me, there's no way I was willing to pay a fortune of money to hear someone with an MD tell me something that I'd already know and say, just stay off the toe. And that's it. No way I would do that. So, therefore, I had to just make a self-diagnosis and say, well, perhaps it's broken or not, but I'll be good to it. Because last week, I was in the basement, and long story short, I stubbed my toe bad on the wall, very bad, very hard, and extreme pain, and it turned a bluish color, not the most aesthetically pleasing extremity in the world to look at. And a lot of pain in the first couple of days. A lot of pain. I had to hobble around, I had to limp, day after day. I mean, when I was going around with the in public there with the reviews, I had to hobble around, and thankfully there was someone with me who was very, very respectful to my impairment. But they're just I still, right now, I can't run. Can't jog. The toe still feels weird. It doesn't hurt anymore. I can pace around the room and the table here fine. But, feels weird. Feels weird. So maybe it is broken, but if it's broken, what can you do? You don't put a cast on a toe unless it's shattered. I think it was just a small break if it was broken or is broken. Nonetheless, show goes on, as does the reviews. We never stop with these reviews. Always goes on no matter what we do. Broken bones or not. If you answer one or none of my questions, I'll be glad you read my message. And as a sign off to my message, please clap your hands. Certainly. I'll give you 2 claps. Thanks, man. You are the greatest. Mr. Review Man, I am a Nigerian prince bespeckled by mischievous misgivings. In order to mitigate my dire situation, I have henceforth decided, in good mind, to impart upon you $50 million. Oh boy. See, I told you about that shortwave money coming in. In order to send you this small fortune, I only require your answer on whether or not you fold your New York-style pizza. Thank you. May you have good health and fast speeds. Well, thank you, and the answer is probably going to guarantee that I'm not getting a single cent, but I don't. I'm the guy who doesn't fold the New York pizza. That's me right there. But, come on. You may be seething with rage that I don't fold the New York pizza. But, listen, it's one step above cutting it up with a knife and fork and eating it like that. So just be glad I don't do that. Just think of it that way. Try to put a positive spin to it all. On to the next. Dearest Report of the Week. After doing some research, I have come to the conclusion that I enjoy listening to music from the 2000s the most. While I listen to a lot of music produced within the last 40 years, when viewing my library, it quickly became clear that many of my favorite albums are from the 2000s. When I initially heard your question, I didn't really have an answer. Since I have been just recently, the past 3 to 4 years, become very interested in music as a whole, and as I began listening more and more, I never really paid much attention to the year in which an album was produced. That being said, if someone asks me the question in the future, I will now have a definite answer. Additionally, your question reminds me of a point that I've tried to make clear to those who have spoken about music. You may or may not have heard someone say that there is no good music anymore, quote. Oh, of course, you just look at the YouTube comments all the time on some song, and you'll see that all the time. You'll see someone saying on some 90s song, 90s music was the best that there ever was, and there's no music around that's just like it anymore. And you hear someone from the 80s saying, the 80s was the last good decade of music, and someone in a 70s song, oh man, music really went downhill since 79. All the time. He writes, now there definitely is a good amount of bad music in the present times, but in no way is there a lack of good music. To me, the only possible explanation for someone making that statement is that they refuse to take the time to find good music. While I may sound hypocritical, seeing that I listen to music made in the 2000s the most, I also listen to a very large amount of music from the current decade, and I enjoy it thoroughly. As a matter of fact, I have somewhere between 250 albums from the past 6 years alone, so I offer this advice to everyone. If you seem to believe that the only good music is from the past, please take some time to search for music made in the past couple decades. I assure you that you will find something you absolutely love, and that you won't regret it. Also, as always, keep doing what you do, Report of the Week, and I promise you that I'll continue watching/listening to your content until the day it stops being released. Best of luck to you in the future, and happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great day from Matt. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving too, my friend. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Hi, John. My friend who introduced me to your channel 2 years ago calls you VORW, and that's your name in my thoughts, but I hope you don't mind if I address you as John here. No, it's fine. I've written in a couple times before, and you've been very good at responding, and I appreciate that a lot. Well, I'm writing again, and it's to ask you for some advice. I have a big problem with procrastination and perfectionism in my college assignments. Do you ever procrastinate too much? What do you do to get over it? Do you have any advice for a chronic time waster? Thanks, your friend James. P.S. Loving the long VORWs lately. Hooray for fan mail and general talk. Fan mail and general talk's the way to go. It is. It is. Well, I answered the question earlier about the procrastination, so if you listen to that, I think that really answers your question. But, again, just be goal-oriented, really. Just try to, not even the goal-oriented, just try to think of what's in it for me. Just think of it that way. And it might be difficult at times, but just think of it that way. What's in it for me? And seriously, don't feel bad about yourself if you think that you can just make some money from doing something. Good, use that as your motivation to be a few bucks richer, to do whatever you want to do with that money, to go out and buy a new suit with that money, or to, I don't know, go out and, get that paint job done on the car, or seek the attainment of some pretzels and beer, whatever floats your boat, but just look forward to something like that, right? Whatever it may be. And thank you for sticking with us for 2 years. Thank you very much. Hey there. I'm messaging you because I was wondering, would you be interested in doing a review comparing and rating the different Lay's Do Us a Flavor finalists that are out? I realize it's been going on for a while now, but I don't see any videos about them on your channel, and I'd be really interested in getting your thoughts on which of the 4 you think is the best. Thanks in advance for taking the time to read out my request. Well, no problem. Lay's reviews are always up for the grabs, for taking. I can do Lay's reviews. I've done a few, actually. The last one I did was months ago, but it wasn't good. But I think maybe a Lay's review is forthcoming. We're kind of overdue for one, I think. On to the next. My favorite decade of music is the 2000s. I do enjoy older music, 80s and 90s mostly, but sometimes I get sentimental about the music I listened to in high school and find myself re-listening to some of it. My favorite bands back in the day were Brand New, Bright Eyes, and Thursday, to name a few. As far as the current decade, I like electronic bands with female singers, such as Grimes, Sleigh Bells, and Crystal Castles. Thank you for writing. And a lot of people like the 2000s music, and I will say 2000s does have some good music. It does. Sure does. Thank you for writing, as always. And greetings, Johnny the Sauce. With regards to your latest review of the Burger King Frozen Surge, I personally enjoyed the new HD quality of the video. After reading the comments, I was a little disappointed to learn that this camera was only going to be used temporarily. My question is, would you consider having another poll to see what your viewers think of the new camera? And if enough people voiced their preference to it, would you consider utilizing HD for your upcoming reviews? Regards. Thank you. Yeah, camera choices are what they are. We have the primary camera back now, which you're going to be seeing tomorrow, probably. Hint, hint. Review coming up. Standard analog here in the reviewing chamber. Then we have the other camera, which goes up to 720p, but it's 720p 60, so you get 60 frames per second and 720p. And then you have what I call the temporary camera, which isn't mine. It's not my camera, but we were using it. I do say we, plural, because there was more than one person present at the time of the public filmings. Someone was holding it for me. And that goes up to 1080p. So, we'll see. Those files are massive, though. I tell you, they are. I mean, to me at least, a gigabyte is a lot. Is a lot. And my computer isn't massive. It's not one of those gaming computers that has terabyte after terabyte of storage. Just holds up to a couple hundred gigabytes of data. But that's all I really need, you know. It is. Don't go downloading anything. Whatever people download nowadays, you know, video games, songs, movies, and you can take that definition loosely. But no, I don't download anything. What takes up the majority of the space on the computer is just archived video from, you know, old reviews and, you know, just miscellaneous videos from the glory days of 2012 and 2011. On to the next. Dear John, I just wanted to send you this message as an apology of the sorts, and a message of gratitude. I've been a huge fan since Fit discovered you, and have been a keen listener of your VORW shows since I first began. Listening to your struggles with depression and derealization helped me hugely when the same issues began affecting me, and your realistic determination to follow your passions is inspirational. Unfortunately, due to a change in personal finances, I can no longer afford to subscribe to your Patreon service, so I thought I owe you this message as an explanation of sorts. I'm still catching up on your VORW shows and reviews. I haven't listened to them in at least 6 months. I hope you are still taking messages to your channel. But now at the university, life has slowed down, and I'll be spending a lot of time catching up. Just wanted to encourage you to keep doing what you do. I hope I can support your goals financially in the future. Much love. Well, thank you, and thank you for the explanation, and no worries, you know, we all go through financial ruts, but, no problem at all. Don't worry about it. For all of you who do donate to the Patreon, or who are, just know, everything you see on the channel, every single review, everything is Patreon funded. All transportation, everything. So just be aware that, you know, with the increased frequency in reviews and everything in between, know that that's your money at work. And honestly, without it, a very large percentage of the stuff we have on this channel right now wouldn't be there. And that's the most blunt way to put it. So what you see, just give yourself a pat on the back for. Because your contributions really do. They really do a ton. They really help out this channel in so many ways, so thank you for that. Let's just check on the messages here. We have 2 more messages, I believe. Two long messages. It's too long, and I don't mean like they're too long. I mean 2 TWO longer messages on the YouTube from 2 regular writers and long-time listeners. So both of them have my utmost respect, and they both will be read. Greetings and citations, Vibra. Currently, I'm taking a break from finishing up a project on my laptop, and I thought to myself, hey, why not write into Review Bra? I do get insomnia on occasion, and when it afflicts me, I always try to use it to get some work done. Other times I just procrastinate when that happens, so here we are. I do hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Mine went very well. It was very relaxing. I'm very happy to hear that the last VORW received a plethora of mail. It really shows how much you are admired and appreciated by so many people. Truly, being able to make a positive impact on a small handful of people is a blessing. In your case, I'd say that you're making a positive impact on a rather large handful of people, so that's even better. I was not able to write in prior to last VORW. However, to answer the question for that show, I believe I've been listening to VORW since 2013 and watching your channel since 2012. It's only in 2014 that I began to write in, and now I believe it is fair to say that I write in somewhat frequently. To be more precise, I believe I write in about every other VORW show, at most every 2, and I'm delighted to hear that the weekly questions are staying. To answer your newest question, my favorite modern decade of music is the 1940s, the heart of the swing era. I love Glenn Miller's iconic sound, Frank Sinatra's early career, Bing Crosby swinging with the Andrews Sisters, and the sound of Benny Goodman soloing on the clarinet with his orchestra behind him. I believe that in the future, when we are long gone, the music of the 40s would be considered just as immortal and timeless as the classical music before it. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 40s music is really something to be admired. It's honestly very beautiful works, and in terms of how beautiful music is, I'd say it's probably second up only to classical. And I know you've listened to some of the VORW shortwave broadcasts, so I know I've played a few tunes from that era, but if I'm ever back on the air, I think I'll include some more to play too, because there are some very good big band classics and swing pieces from that time, which are just masterfully crafted. I would also have chosen a number of classical decades, however there are just so many, it would have taken a very long time to write them out. I'm a huge opera fan, and a fan of classical music as a whole. Music isn't the same nowadays. Absolutely, it's up to you if you ever want to do this, but if you write in next time, because I know you are a regular writer, if you write in next time, I'm just curious if you want to do this, but as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I'm kind of trying to get into classical music more and more. I think it's something very underappreciated by many, even myself included, and just trying to get into it more. So if you have like a favorite symphony you'd like to link me to, I'll gladly give it a listen to in my free time. It doesn't have to be by a modern, by any sort of contemporary classical composer at all, just perhaps even from just one of the great composers, whoever it may be. It could be Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, Haydn. Could be from the later eras, Franz Liszt, Tchaikovsky, and so on. But if you have any favorite symphonies or classical compositions, or even operas you'd like to share, it's always appreciated, and I'll gladly lend an ear. He also writes, being a 90s kid, I always perplex people when I say my favorite music is what I have cited above. I'm pleased to hear that you are a Haunted Mansion fan. I'm a huge Disney fan, and I go to Disney as often as I can, and the Haunted Mansion is definitely one of my top attractions. However, my favorite part of Disney World is Epcot. I love the futuristic vibe in the World Showcase Lagoon. I could probably spend most of my vacation at Epcot just going on all the rides, hanging out in the land pavilion, sampling food and drink from all the countries represented there, and just walking around. I also enjoy talking to the workers in all the different countries when I am there. And the cool thing is that all the workers in Epcot that work in those countries in the World Showcase are actually from those nations. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Epcot, I'd say I enjoy greatly. Also because, just as the park itself, a lot of it, just in my opinion, I think it's more, adult-centric. When they say adult-centric, people oftentimes think of sorts of clubs and everything, but I just think in terms of almost intellect, something that I think someone of age would probably be more interested to than, say, a child, but, so that's one reason why I also like Epcot. He adds, to finish off my scroll, I'd like to say I greatly enjoy the new drink reviews. The next time you go to Starbucks, you should think about doing a review for the all-new Holiday Spice Flat White. It comes unsweetened, so it's a good idea to ask for 2 or 3 pumps of classic syrup in it. It's quite a jolly drink with all of the holiday spices. I know you were still looking for a name of the review segment, so I thought up with some suggestions. Let's see. Half full, half full. Those are some good suggestions right there. And I was also thinking that after stating the name, you could introduce it as the Beverage Report or Drink Report, or simply as Beverage Review or Drink Review. Anyways, these are some thoughts. Perhaps they will help. Hope all is going well with you, and thank you for taking the time to read my letter. Best regards, Rob in New York. Thank you, Rob, and thank you for listening as always, and sticking with us for now almost 4 years. Thank you. And finally, speaking of long-time listeners, our final letter on YouTube, in the YouTube inboxes from a long-time listener who I also fondly remember, and someone who will write in pretty frequently. So kicking it off with a faithful regular. Hello, sir. Sorry that I've not been on for a spell, but I have been in one heck of a slump. Lost my job, and November and December are really bad months for me, as it brings a lot of anxiety and depression. Halloween wasn't as fun as it usually is, and that's the holiday that I celebrate the most. I could almost be true to myself and be accepted by society for just that one day. Been fighting my demons, and I thought I should keep to myself until the storm passed. Don't worry, brah. Has nothing to do with the channel or you, just needed space. Well, to answer the last 5, I think, of the VORW questions, not in any particular order. Number 1, no internet. What would I do? He says, I would start working on my hobbies I have not done in years. Painting miniatures, putting models together, writing stories and poetry, read books of the movies I have not seen, example, Harry Potter. I'd listen to shortwave and talk to others on the CB. How long does it take for me to get ready? I say roughly 30 minutes to around 45 minutes just on normal days. If I get dressed in a suit and tie, then about an hour or so. Like one listener has stated, I don't eat breakfast, but I got to have my Mountain Dew. Speaking of diet sodas, Diet Mountain Dew is by far the worst one I've ever drank, even after they so-called amped it up. Blech. Where do I consume food the most? I eat at home. On rare occasions, I'll eat out, like on my birthday. If I go to McDonald's or Burger King, I bring it home. I have caught myself doing this on many occasions. I'll be watching Running on Empty. And what genre of music do I like? I listen to 80s music, but I like to listen to 90s to present-day music as well. My music style ranges from some classical to alternative. Favorite band from the 80s is Def Leppard. Nice variety in your music choice, I will say. Very nice. I try to keep it varied for me, too. I may have missed a question, but 4 out of 5 isn't bad. I guess the person that did the artwork never responded. The one that wears the suit and trench coat at home, in parentheses. Was really wanting to see his artwork, but I do understand and respect him. I do agree with a listener on having a poll on what the listeners of this channel would like to see. Me, personally, I'd like to see the Idle Mind series come back a little more often. I'm still looking forward to a particular topic. Yes, indeed. Question of the hour. What is the proper way to wear a tie? Does it come to the top of the belt buckle or to the bottom of it? If you really want to be proper, and wear a tie the correct way, I'd say it should go, the point of the tie should go to around the top of the belt buckle. Could go midway down too, that's acceptable as well, halfway down the belt. Bottom is acceptable. Me, what do I do with a tie? I mean, it's could be a faux pas by some, but I'm just at the point where, I don't wear a suit to be fashionable or stylish, as I said responding to a critic in the comments on the latest review. I don't wear the suit to be stylish or fashionable. I wear it as clothing. I wear a suit just as individuals in the early 1900s wore them. Simply the clothing that they wear each and every day, and that's all there is to it. So that's what I do. So when I tie my tie, length is almost always correct, but when it's not, and I'm just not feeling like tying it anymore, I just take the tip and I just tuck it into my pants, and that's that. But most of the time I don't have to do that. Like today, the tie, I'm wearing a beautiful, beautiful Jerry Garcia tie called Junglescape, limited edition collection 42 from 06. And a very pretty tie there that I was gifted by Jerry Garcia. Hasn't appeared on camera yet, but I know it will at some point. It's a bluish pattern tie. I'm wearing that with my black double-breasted suit. Oh, just saw the last question. My heavens, the brain cells still work. Question 5. How long have I been viewing this channel? If I recall correctly, early 2012, I found this channel while watching a video from not your average reviewer. He wore a ski mask and a trench coat. On the other hand side of my screen, I saw this young gentleman in a double-breasted waistcoat. Clicked on the picture and watched it, and I instantly clicked on the name and started watching the other videos and became instantly hooked. I hit the subscribe button and have been here since. Energy Crisis review number 3, Fuel. This happened on another channel that I had forgotten the password, so I created this one, and that reminds me that I have to get back on that channel and start making videos again. I think it's been 3 years since I've done anything. I remember you. Yep. Sip of water was necessary. I do. From 2012, you were part of the original audience from back then. He says, more questions for you. Do you polish your own shoes, and how do you do it? I do polish the shoes. I should get to them more often, honestly. And it depends on how much time I have. If I have real time, I have the full-blown shoe polish kit, where, I have the dabber, and I have the rag, and I have the little thing I'll put the shoe on, and I'll do that. And I'll just full-blown polish them like that. Now, if I don't have the time, I simply have a little sponge with the liquid, and I'll give it a real quick shine like that. Something I should do more often, though, keep the shoes looking nice and spiffy. Do you iron your ties, shirts, and pants? Sometimes. Sometimes. Depends. Oftentimes the shirts are ironed the most, then the pants, and probably most infrequently are the ties. Don't really need ironing. I always take good care of them. I know some people just throw them on the floor, whatever, but I always untie them, and when they're not on the tie rack, they're draped over a chair, and they do good there. And the real special ties to me, my latest acquisitions, of which I received I got about probably 18 new ties. Those were all draped over the couch in the Idle Mind room. So they're doing good too. How often do you have your suits dry cleaned? Again, that just depends. I'm not a messy eater. Suits are always taken care of good, so it just depends. Usually what I do is I take them in bulk. So if I need to have tailoring work done, usually on the pants, just to let the hem out a little bit sometimes. Like I got a new suit, believe it or not, it was gifted to me too, over this Thanksgiving period. It's a gray double-breasted suit, and the hem just needs to be let out a little bit on the pants. So when I bring that suit in, if there's any suits that I see that should go in also, I'll bring those in for a cleaning. But, I'll do it when I see it necessary. He also mentions, what is your favorite suit of the past and present, owned/own? I have such a vast collection now, it's going to be difficult, but maybe the suit I'm wearing is my favorite suit of the present. It's just a black, you've seen this one worn a bit before. It's the black 6x1 double-breasted suit, just solid black. I wear that a lot. I love the lapels on it, love the 6x1 style. Very traditional suit, nice length to the jacket. Pants are pleated, creased, and cuffed. And also the pants are very roomy and traditional in that regard also. They have a very good drape to them. So that's good. That might be my favorite suit in the present. Favorite suit of the past? Well, 2011, my favorite suit back then was for the first part of the year. Then there's a shift in the suits when I kind of got new suits and ushered out to one. So the suits you see that I wore from around February to June of 2011, that's the only time they're worn. Those were suits of they were on their way out. The gray pinstripe suit and the black suit. I like this black 3-button suit. Again, traditional, pleated, creased, cuffed, 3 buttons, longer jacket. That was from a dying era in menswear, when the 3-button suits were still somewhat popular. Their last vestige of popularity, their last their dying breaths really were in 2011, when I finally exited the unfortunately departed menswear, and the slim fit suits took over from there. So that was a suit I liked a bit. And then after that, my favorite suit was for probably 2011 and most of 2012, was a double-breasted. This was a standard double-breasted with the 4 buttons, that are in a square. Forget the button stands for that, the official name. But that was my next favorite one. Nice peak lapels, again pleated, creased, cuffed. Good suit. Could still maybe squeeze into the jacket, but not the pants. Not the pants. So that was my favorite suit for a while then. Then for some of 2012 and for a bit of 2013, the famous pan pizza suit was my favorite. 4-button jacket. You don't see those anymore, I'll tell you that. 4-button jacket, single-breasted, peak lapels. You don't see that anymore. Those 4-button jackets you never see. But it was a 4-button jacket, double-breasted waistcoat, and again, nice traditional pants, roomy, pleated, creased, and cuffed. And the pants still fit me, but alas, the jacket, all 4 buttons too, no longer fits. So it no longer fits well, you can say. Then from that suit, I got kind of late 2013 through 2014, some of 2014, when I was disillusioned by modern menswear. My favorite suit was a modern black suit, 2 buttons, skinny lapels, tighter pants, flat front, no cuff. But then I realized, in 2014 about the traditional menswear of the 90s and such. So after that, then this suit really came in. And before that, it was a traditional gray suit that I liked. Longer jacket, pleated, creased cuff, wide lapels, 2 buttons, single-breasted. We can go on for a while, but I think I concisely answered that one. And I'm going to be a little silly, and if these questions do not need to be answered, or you can answer them with a silly reply. You did mention your VORW show on asking about the napkins. Here goes. What brand are they? They are Review Bra's own brand of napkins. How do you open the package? Usually take the sharpest knife I got, and I just start going at it and hope for the best. Hope I get the package of the napkins open. How do you take them out once opened? I usually, what I'll usually do, and this is always a difficult maneuver. What I'll try to do is I'll try to grip the napkin with my teeth, and I'll just try to pull it out. But very gently. Very gently. I don't want to disturb the napkins. Where do you place it? I like to place it on my head. I'll sometimes wear the napkins as a little hat. And how do you discard it once it's done? Well, what I'll normally do is I'll throw them on the floor, and when there's enough, I'll make a little bed out of all the napkins. Hoping you can take these questions about the napkins as fun and catches you in good spirits. Again, sorry for not writing and watching your videos like I used to, but gone through a rough time in my point of my life. Friends forever from the trench coat. Well, thank you for writing, of course, and I do hope things get better for you. I do. We all go through rough patches, but I wish you all the best. That concludes the mail for YouTube. Now on to Rep Week Interview 1. Hello, John. First time writing in. I stumbled upon your channel earlier this year, and I've been a regular viewer since. You're the only channel I constantly check for new videos, and I love listening to VORW when I'm logging long hours in my design projects for school. I thought that was really cool. You like 90s grunge, and Nirvana is one of my favorite bands. So I was wondering if you've ever listened to Hum. They're a 90s band that I found this year and really enjoy and thought you might like as well. There are a lot of newer bands as well that are emulating the 90s sound, and it's quite the, quote, revival. And if you ever find yourself in New Hampshire, I work in a restaurant, and I'd be happy to buy you a meal to review. Keep up the good work, man. Wish you the best. With regards, Adam. Thanks for writing, Adam. And no, I have not heard of Hum, but I'd be happy to check them out. On to the next. Hello again from the state of North Carolina, Review Bra. Regarding your Nathan's Hot Dog review, I was curious if you have Sam's Clubs where you live, or if it's more of a Costco environment up there. Only bring them up because if you go to just about any Sam's Club, you can get a Nathan's Hot Dog for about $1.38, and that price includes a pretty large drink. Also, you mentioned you enjoyed As Above, So Below. I figured I could make another horror movie recommendation if you're interested. I think, quote, Banshee chapter is worth looking into if you're interested. It involves Lovecraftian elements, as well as an ominous number station. I think it was the Swedish Rhapsody they're playing. Yes, that's a very famous number station. Thank you again for reading my email, and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for writing. Now it's more of a Costco type place up here. No Sam's Clubs really. It's not the land of Walmart up here in Review Bra land. And I'll look into that movie. Thank you for the recommendation. Recommendations are always welcome. Let's see what else we have here. That's not fan mail. That's not fan mail. That's not fan mail. Oh, we got that one. Okay. Well, we got 5 letters left, and just due to time, the rest of the letters, if I know I'm not going to be able to get to everything today, there's a few in the other email address, but those will be responded to first thing next show. So don't fret if you weren't responded to. You'll get priority treatment here, and you'll get responded to first thing in the next show. 5 emails and a very long one, but nonetheless we read. Hey, Report of the Week. To answer the recent question, my favorite decade of music is the 1960s. The reason for the 1960s is that it had some great classic rock of all time, as well as some nice jazz, folk music, and other assorted good stuff. Oh, absolutely. No, it does have a lot of good music, especially classic rock. 60s and 70s was excellent in that genre. He writes also, I was wondering, will we be taken along with you for any of your night walks and any future VORWs? The night walk segment of your VORWs is probably my favorite part of the show. Something about the steady rhythm of your shoes gently clanking against the pavement and the background sound of occasional cars passing is delightfully soothing. Listening to you voice your thoughts during your night walks is quite relaxing too, of course. And I think the constant rhythm and action of walking helps one organize whatever thoughts are in one's head. I know from my own experience that night walks can be very meditative, relaxing, and pondering experiences. I also wanted to ask, would you consider doing, quote, a raw video, quote, of one of your night walks? I understand you might not want to do something like that for privacy reasons, since it could give away the town or neighborhood where you live, but if you did decide to do a video like that, I, for one, would enjoy it greatly. Hope you're doing well, and keep up the good work, my friend. Well, thank you for writing. Thank you for writing, of course. There will be some more night walks coming. For now, with my injured foot, I'm just trying to keep it, give it a break for a bit. So, none for now, but they're not going away. The night walks are not going away, so don't worry. As for the video from a night walk, I'm not sure on that right now. I mean, it's just something I really, really have to think about. As you said, pretty much hit the nail on the head as to why I wouldn't, just for privacy reasons. So we'll see, but I can't guarantee you on that one. Thank you for writing, of course. Dear Review Bra, how are you, Habibi? Once again, I was peachy as Georgia to listen to your buttery voice cascade across my eardrums like gravy on my Pop-Tart. I'm sorry to impose my request for you to deliver another message to a particular viewer, but you have proven to be an effective mechanism for delivery for my edicts. Once again, the message has been written phonetically in some parts. Oliver, let's face it. Your sandal shoes smell like ass. I understand you and Foon Schwab want to visit Hungary together, but Oswald Tennington will have none of it. I request that you return to your taffy shop. Others, Captain McCaptain, Chimp Captor Captain, will force feed you another Grootwit. Thank you for your patience, Review Bra. I understand that you must feel as if I make odd requests in my emails, but I assure you that it is to only assuage the libidos of your more unruly fans. You, much like any benevolent philosopher king, deserve nothing but admiration and worship. I personally understand you to be the face of God on earth. I feel as if you are the only friend I have. Despite the chipper demeanor of my messages, I'm often ostracized from my Form 12 peer group at school, and we've received many verbal assaults. My devotion to you comes purely due to the respect I have for your personal integrity and dapper suave. You so effortlessly effuse. Stay sweet, my delicate gooseberry. You are all I have in this ocean of mortal mediocrity. Sincerely, Bob Jenkins, Caloric Comrade in Arms. Thank you for writing, Bob, and hopefully your request has been fulfilled to your liking. And, what else do we got here? Here we go. Hey, Review Bro, greetings from Minnesota. As I'm someone living with similar weather conditions to yours, I understand how this time of year and its weather can make everything seem gloomier. If you're looking for somewhere to vacation or just visit, I recommend the land of 10,000 lakes here in Minnesota. It's very warm during the summer and cool in the winter. I started watching your content a little over a year ago. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember exactly when, but that seems about right. I would also like to shamefully admit that when I first saw your videos, I thought, what the heck is this guy doing? This is so weird. But soon I became addicted to your amazing and truthful personality. I've written one other time, but it was a stupid message about video games or something. I don't even remember. If you could make a meal out of one energy drink and one fast food burger and one side, what would it be? Thanks. Well, sorry for taking up so much time with my message, but as always, you amaze me. Thanks from Reese in Minnesota. Thank you for writing. I've never been to Minnesota. No. Forget it. I have been to Minnesota. I drove through the state, and that's all. So I guess that doesn't really count, does it? Doesn't really count. I drove through Minnesota, and drove through it on, what is that interstate? On 90. Straight south through Minnesota, and that's it. That's it. So, I guess it doesn't really count. But, was there. As for the question, if I could make a meal out of something, well, I'd go Ball's energy drink. I'd go with a burger from probably Five Guys. And the side, I'd have to go Five Guys too, perhaps. Probably Five Guys Cajun fries. Those things are good. Either be that or absolutely perfectly done McDonald's fries. But those just don't happen anymore. They don't. He also sends another message. He says, I forgot to say something. Sorry to barrage you with a long, boring email. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. But I forgot something important to tell you. I know you watched The Walking Dead, and if you haven't seen episode 7 of season 6, I understand if you want to skip this email. No, I have. I was just wondering if you thought our favorite character Glenn would be alive or not, and why do you think Maggie was feeling as she saw the balloons? She got excited, and then as the tower fell down and released the walkers onto Rick and the Alexandrians. Also, your general thoughts on the episode would be nice. Thanks for reading this. Well, thank you, again. First of all, I want to say that the mid-season finale was the most disappointing episode of The Walking Dead I have ever seen. I mean, that is the most disappointing. The mid-season finale, that is the most disappointing and shameful excuse for a mid-season finale I have ever seen. Ever, from The Walking Dead. And believe me, they've been putting out a lot of garbage from time to time, a lot of filler. Always turns out well in the end, but this was a disappointment and a half. It really was. So that's my first piece of my mind right there. Very, very disappointed with the mid-season finale. They took a whole hour to show what happened and what could have happened in 5 minutes. So that's just disappointing. Glenn, at first I thought he was dead. At first I was convinced he was dead. But then I thought about it, and I thought, no, he's alive. Because every other time a Walking Dead character has died, let alone a main character, they cover their death pretty in-depth. They do. If someone was going to get eaten by zombies, they would clearly show them being eaten by zombies, and not just, how it was for a shot of someone who was not discernibly Glenn, the other guy, of course, getting eaten. So it would have just been more in-depth, and it would have been a bigger deal than it was, but I knew after a little while that Glenn was still probably going to be alive. How he survived, I didn't know, but, it's typical of what happened. Somehow fit under the dumpster and just waited it out. As for Maggie, perhaps she was just looking for any sign of hope. And she just thought, she saw those balloons and she thought, oh, that had to be, Glenn. I mean, maybe she was just, and obviously correctly so, but she might have just been very, upset, very desperate, and just looking for any potential sign that he could be alive, and she took that, again, correctly so, as one. There could be some sort of signal, to use with the balloons that just wasn't covered in the show, so who knows. Thank you for writing, and now on to the final email, and again, I know I missed a few. I know that. I know I missed like 4 or 5 emails in total, and for that I apologize, but know that your emails and letters are going to be covered first. Top priority, very first, in the next show. So understand that. So don't worry, it's not like I'm skipping you or anything. You're going to get priority treatment for the next program. Fan mail from a long-time listener in London, England. Get ready. I know you don't usually read out fan mail letters this long, but I hope my circumstances will move you to exception. I'm 38 years old, I live by myself, and while I do not entirely lack for company, I have no friends of more than 4 years standing, and prefer to spend my time, particularly weekends, alone with my memory, for that is where my true friends are. 4 years ago, I was a key witness in the trial of a Lancashire death ring. 7 men were given life, but in the process, my own existence became threatened. Threatening messages on my answer phone and pig blood thrown over my car on the driveway told me that I had been marked by the gang, and when I awoke one morning to find a skinned cat on my doorstep, I applied for police protection. They obliged, but advised me to move from Blackburn to Kilburn, and they also said that I would not be safe unless everyone I knew believed I was dead. So with their help, I disappeared and headed south, and everything about me had to change, including my name. I used to run Hot Biscuits, the record shop off Calder Street. I also took my precaution of altering my face so that I would be completely unrecognizable even to my family. Alas, they, along with my true friends and dear wife Alice, could only exist to me in my mind and my heart. The first few weeks in London were interesting as a sort of a challenge, but to be honest, the longer I spent in my new environment, the less I desired to meet new people. They're alright, but the bonds you make after 30 are so superficial, frankly. It was Alice I missed most, thought about her every day at least 50 times for 3.5 years, but by this January I can feel my wits beginning to end. And then just 6 weeks ago something happened that split my brain end to end. It was a Sunday, and I was purchasing some fittings at a furniture store, and there, arranging the display in the mid-tone bedrooms, I saw Alice. I knew it was her at once. Every curve, every gesture. I just stood and gawped, no words, just a huge tennis ball in my throat. She saw me, a staring stranger, and looked away, embarrassed. I ran out. But 2 hours later I was back. I wandered about for 4 hours, showing immense interest in futons and drapes, all the time keeping her in the corner of my eye, wondering 1,000 ghastly wonders. What was she doing there? How could I talk to her? Would she recognize me? Could she love me again? God, I wanted that. For a week I returned every day, making enough purchases to avoid suspicion, at the same time lurking and peeping as much as I could. She had noticed me again and smiled, had she looked slightly too long. By Wednesday I had gathered she was still unattached, but had 3 suitors who would contrive to visit her during the day, making her laugh and blush with their vivacious flirting. How men became ridiculous at the hands of lust. One of them, the stupidest but most forward, asked her out. I seized from behind a rather unpleasant shelf. I wanted to shout, "Alice, I love you, help me," but of course I couldn't. So I scrawled it onto the back of an odd bin's receipt and pushed it deep into my pocket. I was being eaten up. By Thursday she was playing them off against each other. She said she would go to the lakes for the weekend with whoever could guess the whereabouts of her birthmark. I knew she was just amusing herself, trying to forget me, but still I felt the foreboding in my gut when she said that. But I also knew she had given me my chance. No one could guess about the small violet disc in the warm pink of her mouth, but I knew. The answer had to be written down and placed in an envelope, and they would be opened on Friday lunchtime in the park outside the store. All morning I loitered on the grass, bursting with fear, maintaining an outward saunter. Wishing I smoked, muttering at squirrels, until at last the improbable foursome emerged, excited and chattering. I watched with growing glee as the first, 1, then 2, then finally 3 faces failed despite their smiles, fully to disguise their disappointment. Alice laughed and tossed her hair. This was my moment. I ran forward, thrust my envelope into her hand, and said, "Please open it. Please trust me, you must open it." They laughed, and they pretended to take me seriously. Alice slipped her finger under the flap and drew out my note. She read it, and read it again. She looked at me aghast, and she looked at her suitors, who were now no longer smiling, searching for some clue. But who? Quote, "Jack," I said. "Jack Kettridge. And I love you, I'm not dead, I had to run away, but I don't care if they kill me now, I want you back." After an aching pause, a tear rolled down her cheek. "Jack," she whispered, and leaned forward to kiss me. I shut my eyes but never felt her lips, because at that moment the deafening shot ran out. They must have followed me. I never forget her face as she lay bleeding on the turf, the look of stunned incomprehension tempered still with a slight sensual anticipation as Pop riveted to the scarred bonnet of my memory. But you'd bring back happier memories if you reviewed the classic McDonald's apple pie, perhaps with a regular strawberry milkshake on the side. Many thanks for all your hard work over the years, Review Bro. You never fail to provide informative yet humorous content, and your dulcet tones can always be relied upon to soothe away the stresses of a long day. And thank you for having taken the trouble to read out such a long fan mail message. In answer to your question, my favorite decade of music would definitely be the 1980s. There's something wonderful, even joyous, about the melodic tunes of Whitney Houston, Phil Collins, Huey Lewis, Hans Erasure, Heart and Journey. It reminds me of a simpler time when the world seemed less complicated, more black and white, and recalls a more optimistic age, when it was morning in America and anything was possible. I hope this message finds you well, and I look forward to seeing many more videos from you in the future. Kindest regards. Well, thank you, and thank you for your tale. And I'll see what I can do about the McDonald's review. And 1980s music is always good. 1980s music does have some good tunes. Well, that's all we got for you. This is VORW, the voice of the report of the week. Remember, if you'd like to write to us, and the question is always about the Legos in this program, if you ever played with them, you collect them, you build things with them, what's the extent of your creations, or you just don't like Legos, let me know. Write to me, please, or with any questions, comments, concerns, general statements, disorganized statements, or anything in between, please write. repweekinterview1@gmail.com, vorwinfo@gmail.com, or send me a message on YouTube, youtube.com/The Report of the Week. Click on the About tab, and from there, send message. Thank you very much for listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Have an excellent remainder of the week, a beautiful week ahead, and until next time, all the very best. Take care. This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing off.